Hey darlings. Taisiya spent the whole day cleaning the house, ironing her husband's shirts and then working on the stove. She loved homegrown cucumbers and tomatoes and was very worried about them. After lunch, I started preparing my husband's favorite dish, Cordon Bleu. This is a schnitzel made with fresh veal stuffed with cheese and ham, fried in breading. And for dessert, the most delicate raspberry soufflé. Everything worked perfectly. Now you can put yourself in order. Taya always tried to look good. She didn't allow herself to walk around the house without hair and light makeup. This is how her mother-in-law taught her in her youth that she needs to please her husband, give him care and affection and only positive emotions, not to look at others. The woman took a shower, sat in front of the mirror, curled her light curls, a little blush and glitter, a tight jumpsuit, and now we see not a tired housewife, but a fresh and beautiful housewife. Recently, relations with her husband were already tense. Pavel was nervous, often lost his temper, and became nervous for any reason or no reason, and Taya wanted to please him, to calm the situation at least a little. Exactly at 7 o'clock the husband arrived, entered the house, threw the briefcase into the hallway, and went to the kitchen. A beautifully set table was waiting for him there. A bottle of ice-cold wine was open. His wife ran to hug him. "Hello, my dear. How are you doing? Tired out? But I decided to spoil you. I prepared your favorite dinner. Wash your hands and get to the table. I'm ready." Pavel kissed his wife reluctantly and frowned, as if he was not at all happy with the surprise, and Taya felt offended. She was waiting for him so much, trying so hard. They sat at the table. The husband languidly chewed schnitzel, took a sip of wine and grumbled. "What kind of holiday is this? Things are getting worse than ever. Sales are down. Profits will soon go negative. I'm furious. And you're having so much fun here." He threw a folder with reports and graphs on the table. Taya looked at it. Yes, the image was really terrible. Like this? Just 6 months ago, everything was fine. I controlled everything myself and monitored purchases. What are you doing, Pasha? Why did you refuse our reliable supplier? All his materials are high quality, and he didn't break the price like everyone else. Look, it all started at that moment. Pavel jumped up and shouted, "So you mean I'm a bad leader? And without you, they won't be able to keep the clothing factory running? Well, thank you. You supported me very well." Taya was perplexed. What I have to do with it? I just say what I see, that's all. Why do you worry about little things again? I'm tired of all this too. You yourself insisted that I stay at home. I obeyed. I'm waiting for you, cooking, missing you, and you're coming to attack me? Why? For what? What's happening to you, Pasha? Let's talk honestly. I see how you've changed. Even at night, you always face the wall. You are tired or something else. You also go out to work on the weekends. Maybe you have another woman? Taya looked closely into her husband's eyes. She thought, as always, he would laugh at this, tell her not to make up nonsense, that he had no one. But what happened next shocked Taya. Pavel drank a glass of wine in one gulp, jumped up from the chair, and walked towards her with bulging eyes. He clenched his fists and shouted, "If you want to know the truth, then listen. Yes, I have a lover, and I really love her, not you. I've been tired of you for a long time, understand? The bed is like a log, nothing but talking about food and your plants. Tedious. You are completely inferior. Sterile. I can't even get pregnant. We're getting divorced. Plus, I'll soon have my own child, and I don't need you anymore. So take your coins and get out of here." Taya was surprised. She couldn't believe what had happened. "Pasha, why are you saying this? Come to your senses. What a fly bit you. Calm down, calm down. This is our common home. Where will I go? We've been together for so many years, and you want to erase it all? And we will still have children, I believe. You and I recently passed all the tests. You forgot?" But the man didn't listen to her anymore. He continued to insist. I don't care about the tests. I'll soon be a father anyway. My new, happy life has just begun. And forget the house. I'll sue you for that. It's registered in my name. And in general, the account and bank deposit are also shared. I'm going to block it now. And you can keep spinning however you want. Otherwise, I'm used to living off my money. I said, get out. I don't even need your schnitzels for nothing. Chicken? I can eat them in a restaurant too. I need fire, direction, for sparks to fly. But are you capable of that? You were always a pain in the ass. Correct to the point of nausea. And why did I marry you? I shouldn't have listened to my mother. I wasted so many years. Taya cried, packed her things in a suitcase and was forced to leave, taking only documents and the most necessary things. There wasn't much money in her wallet, so she rented a room in a cheap hotel, and she didn't know what to do next. I hoped that Pavel would calm down, and that it would be possible to talk to him normally. The woman fell on the bed in her room and sobbed, remembering her life. Taya was a deceased and much-loved child in a respected family of teachers. His father and mother dedicated their entire lives to science, and only when they were close to 40 did they decide to become parents. Therefore, they adored their only daughter. They had an apartment right in the city center, a luxurious 2-room apartment with an improved layout. Taya grew up with love and affection. She studied well. Her parents had a large library, all classics, and from childhood she was instilled with a taste for beauty. The girl also entered university without any problems, graduated with honors, never lived in a dormitory, always alone at home. She had only one friend, Sveta Frolova. She was from a dysfunctional family, lived precariously in a hostel, and envied Taya, often telling her, "You're lucky, friend. Since you were a child, you roll like cheese in butter. I assume your father already has his eye on a place at university for you. The house is full. You don't need money. Live and be happy. Not like me. Since I was a child, my father chased my mother and I with a stick. I had nothing to eat. As soon as I entered university by hook or by crook, I had to sleep with the old scoundrel dean. What a pleasure. Not life, but pure survival. Well, everything is fine. I will go to work. I will definitely find a rich groom, and I will also live like a queen." The girls were completely different. Taya was a dreamer, shy and well-mannered, and Sveta was a lively laugher who didn't mince words. And yet, they somehow found a common language and became friends. Sometimes Taya would bring a friend home, but her parents weren't too keen on that. Sveta behaved very impudently. She could try on all of Taya's things and beg for something. The sense of tact was unfamiliar to her. After Sveta left, the mother scolded her daughter. "You shouldn't be friends with her, daughter. Such depth, how good, will easily take your fiancé away, let alone beg for things. She'll be fine. Don't you see? She only has selfishness and envy in her eyes." But the naive Taya objected. "Well, yes, Sveta is not trained in the rules of good manners, I agree. But that's because she had a difficult childhood, you know? And that's not her fault. And my friend is not bad at all, cheerful and sociable. But do you know how famously she kicked the hooligans who approached us on the street? It's never scary with her." After receiving the diploma, Taya was in a hurry to return home. She knew that her parents were really waiting for her. The table was probably set. Guests were invited. Such an event needed to be celebrated. But when she saw an ambulance near the entrance, for some reason she felt an unpleasant pain in the pit of her stomach. And the premonition certainly didn't deceive. They carried my mother on a stretcher. She was unconscious. Dad trotted after him and shouted, "Ah, daughter, we're in trouble. Tamachka got sick. This is how I crumbled the salad. We were waiting for you," and again. And he fell backwards onto the floor. I was so scared that I just didn't do anything. I couldn't make her come to her senses. God, at least I wanted to be alive. At least everything worked out. I can't live without her. We have been in perfect harmony our entire lives. But the miracle didn't happen and, after a week in the ICU, my mother died without suffering a stroke. Taya suddenly matured. Dad was completely crazy. He was rocking from side to side and talking to Toma as if he were alive. My mind was completely clouded. It was then, in such a difficult moment, that his longtime acquaintances, namely Pavel's parents, Galina Vyacheslavovna and Boris Glebovich Uglev, came to the family's aid. They were the ones who helped Taya organize the funeral and wake up. Her son Pavel was also naturally nearby. I tried to support Taya in a friendly way. They talked a lot. After the funeral, Pavel's father offered Taya a job. There is no need for you, girl, to cry at home. Now you are the oldest in your family, Daddy. You know, you are completely sick. Come to our sewing factory. It's a family business and Pavel already works there. He'll tell you everything. He'll update you. When your head is busy, pain is easier to bear. And Taya agreed. She was so lost at the time that she didn't know how to live. Taya worked in her specialty as a manager of the purchasing department. At first she was shy, but she soon got used to it and things went well. Pavel was already a senior master and also delved deeper into his father's work. It was his parents who advised him to marry Taya. Son, take a closer look at Taya. This girl is good, modest, well-educated, from a decent family. She would be a wonderful wife for you, we are sure. Then the couple started dating, and then a magnificent wedding took place. They lived well. Pavel was kind, never shouted, and enjoyed the warmth of the family home. Taisiya's father only survived her mother by 3 years and silently followed her beloved Toma to heaven. And again the daughter suffered and mourned her loved one. After her father's death, it was her husband who convinced her to sell her parents' apartment and buy a large mansion. They say, the children would go and there would be somewhere to turn around. Years passed. Life had already calmed down, but the desired pregnancy never happened. The woman was very upset. She underwent all kinds of tests, but the doctors did not find any significant abnormalities or pathologies in her, and everyone insisted that her husband also be examined and pass the necessary tests. But Pavel didn't want to hear about it. He blamed his wife for the infertility, believing that the reason was just her, and everything was fine with him. And only recently did Taya finally convince him, and he passed the tests, but the results were not yet ready. Now Pavel himself was already running the factory, and Taya was a housewife, and it was her husband who insisted on this too. Although his wife helped him, she advised him, especially regarding the purchase of materials, and showed him how to keep records of all funds properly. As in any family where there are no children, the relationship between the spouses gradually cooled down, but Taya never imagined that Pavel had been cheating on her for a long time, and was even going to get a divorce and leave her with nothing. The woman was simply devastated, and decided to call her friend. Her voice broke. Svetik, I'm at the Okag Hotel. Please come. This happened to me. My whole life is falling apart before my eyes, and I don't know what to do. The excited friend immediately responded. So, Taichka, just don't panic. I'm leaving. Wait, don't cry. Together we will invent something. And now they were drinking tea. Taya continued telling what happened yesterday and lamented. Sveta, how could Pasha do this? Sleeping with someone behind my back for over a year. What kind of bitches are there in this world? Is this how you take a man out of his family? Nothing sacred. Pasha went crazy, blocked the card and our deposit, and now I'm broke. He intends to deprive me of everything. He says that this reptile will soon give birth to a baby, and he doesn't need me anymore. They say, I'm an empty, sterile vessel. I'm so offended, Sveta. We have lived for so many years. I am everything to him, and he throws me out of his life like an unnecessary old thing. What should I do? Hands down, Sveta groaned, sympathized with her friend and shook her head. Yes, you bastard Pashka, of course. I didn't expect that from him. Well, okay. I went on a spree, decided to leave, but leaving you without a penny is beyond the limits. Don't cry. Tears won't help my pain. You must not give up. Defend your rights. You know? Let's find you a good lawyer. I have one in mind. An excellent specialist. He helps with the division of property and family matters. Just prepare all the documents and I will call him and set up a meeting. Taya sobbed. Thank you, Sveta. It's a good idea, but a lawyer's services are expensive these days. But where can I get that money? The friend immediately took out her wallet and handed her a stack of bills. Here, hold it, then you give it back. I won't leave you in trouble. Trouble down and out has begun. Let's deal together. Let's process yours. So get ready to fight, and believe that everything will work out, and I will always support. Taya hugged her friend and whispered, Thank you, Sveta. You are the best friend in the world. What would I do without you? Maybe you're right. You shouldn't lose your temper. God willing, everything will work out. The next day, Taya met with a lawyer. He was a very serious, polite man, made a pleasant impression, listened to everything carefully, made copies of the documents for study, and promised that he would take care of her case. It gave me hope that at least there would be a roof over my head. Now is the time to look for a job. Apparently, Pavel is not going to give up. You need to learn to survive alone. Her husband harassed her with calls, threatened that she would not be able to perform well in court, that he had all the trump cards in his hands. In general, he finished her off morally as best he could. Taya's condition was dire. She expected only help from lawyer Denisov. She certainly could not defend her rights alone. A friend called, supported, and crossed her fingers for her. Taya was also very grateful to her. But if she had known what was really happening behind her back, a whole ball of rattlesnakes had intertwined themselves into a single ring and was preparing to fatally bite our heroine. At that same time, real passions were boiling in the law firm Denisov and Partners. The vaunted Sergei Denisov, the most popular and highest-paid lawyer in the city, walked through his office and described in living colors how he was going to smash Pavel's ex-wife to smithereens in court. He gestured actively and explained, I created a great combination. Playing on two fronts is very profitable. Look, Taisiya now believes me unconditionally. She gave copies of all the documents and claims that, on your advice, she sold her parents' apartment and invested this money in buying the mansion where you lived with her. And that's why he believes it should be divided equally. Everything is true, and there is confirmation of this. But you and I will prove that you contributed the second half of the money this time. Secondly, the repairs and the purchase of furniture were also at your expense. That's two. This means that the house already belongs to you more than it does to her. But that's not all. I connected my connections and bribed the necessary witnesses, and we can easily prove that your ex-wife hasn't worked anywhere for 5 years and you support her. And she also leads a wild lifestyle, drinks a lot, and you spend a lot of money on her treatment in dispensaries. I also have good relations with Judge Nikiforov. He is my longtime debtor, so we can say it is guaranteed. Let's leave your wife with the nose. And you don't need to worry about Svetlana either. I invented everything so that the mosquito doesn't hurt your nose. Everyone will sympathize with you. Pavel was elated. Everything went like clockwork. It couldn't have gone better. Svetlana sat on a chair in a row and boasted. Wait, who did all this in the first place? My unfortunate friend called me to open her soul and ask for help. Well, what about me? She didn't go into debt. She helped, as expected. She believes in me as much as she believes in herself. She has been a naive fool since childhood, and she doesn't even suspect that I'm that home wrecker. It's great. The main thing is that our conspiracy is not discovered before the trial, and then I will finally be happy with Pasha. We're having a baby soon. What can this childless hen give you? Intern Alina pretended to be working hard and reviewing some documents for the 100th time. but she was simply amazed at Denisov's cunning. He was an idol, a guru for her. She dreamed of adopting his experience and learning how to win cases brilliantly too. But now, seeing how the lawyer acts on two fronts and blatantly lies to his client, knowing in advance that he will set her up and leave her with her nose, the girl is very disappointed in the teacher. Since I was a child, I couldn't stand evil. I always tried to stay by the side of those who were unfairly offended and reach the truth, which is why I chose this profession. But it turns out that she will have to learn to lie and make a deal with her conscience. She could not allow that. Alina waited until everyone left, silently looked at Taisiya's contacts, and decided to tell her the whole truth, even though she understood that after this she would probably lose her comfortable place. She was outraged by Pavel's insolence and Denisov's confidence in her impunity. They arranged with Taisiya to meet at the hotel where the woman lived. Taya went to the meeting completely perplexed. What does this in turn want from her? Attracting you? But why? The woman believed Denisov and trusted his experience and professionalism. Well, what can this girl tell her that's so important? But Alina was determined and started with the main thing. Hello, Taisiya Matveyevna. I work in Denisov's law office. I sit in the same office as him. Today I witnessed his meeting with his husband, and that really pissed me off. Denisov is not going to defend his rights. It's the opposite. Plus, your husband paid him a lot more than you did. Therefore, you will lose the test and be left with nothing. And your friend, to whom you confided your pain, is your husband's lover. I understand that this truth probably shocked you, but I couldn't help but tell you this. This is unfair. They all turned against you alone. Taya blinked frequently and couldn't utter a word. So wait, is this some kind of joke or what? I don't believe it. This just can't be. Sveta couldn't do this. We've been friends with her since childhood, since our student days. I did so much good for her. She couldn't betray me like that. Sveta herself found me a lawyer and gave me money for him. And then Taya's cell phone rang. She said absently, "Health clinic?" "Yes, my husband and I tested." "What? As you said? What a turnaround." "He is sure? Did you check again? Can you email me the result?" "Thank you very much." The woman finished the conversation on the phone and suddenly laughed hysterically, to the point of crying, to the point of sobbing. Alina understood that this was an extreme degree of mental exhaustion, so she didn't even try to calm her down. She simply threw a glass of water in her face. And it helped. Taya choked and seemed to come to her senses, and Alina began to apologize. "Sorry, I didn't mean to offend you. But you were hysterical. What else happened?" Taya dried herself with napkins and said, "You will not believe. I was just told that my husband will never have children. You can imagine? He is sterile. But Pasha left me because his lover was pregnant with his baby. Now I'm wondering whose son is this? And I'm such an idiot for having fed myself for so many years that I can't give birth to a baby. My ex-husband kept telling me that I was an empty, sterile vessel. How can hysteria not happen here? Circus and nothing else." Alina thought deeply. "But I'm glad that all this is clear now. You can go to your husband and intimidate him with these trump cards. Maybe he will change his mind about starting this process. If you want, I can offer you a defense in court completely free of charge. But the truth is that we will most likely lose the trial. Since Denisov is paired with a corrupt judge, they commit such frauds, they have everything under control. But I have a plan. I need to find out everything." Taya was so stunned that she looked at the young woman who brought her so much bad news and didn't know what to do. She so blindly believed in Denisov that he seemed so trusting and open to her. The woman thought, "Lord, it turns out that I don't understand people at all. At first my husband led me by the nose. Now he is also a lawyer. And I believe in everyone." After hesitating a bit, Taya agreed. "Okay, let's try to do something together to save me." Thank you for risking your career and deciding to come and tell us everything. Tomorrow, I will terminate the contract with Denisov and take the deposit with copies of documents from him, although I understand that it is too late. I told him everything myself. Let's not despair ahead of time. As soon as I think about everything about how we should proceed, I'll call you immediately. And you try to calm down at least a little. We need a clear head to win this difficult battle. The next day, Taisiya came to Denisov and terminated the contract with him. He was surprised. Honey, what happened? You and I have an excellent chance of winning the case. You've already paid me a deposit, and even though I haven't started work yet, I won't be able to return that money to you. Do you doubt my impeccable reputation? Taya just replied dryly. Sorry, but I changed my mind, that's my right. I don't need a lawyer. Goodbye. Denisov was not upset at all, even better. He received the money and there is no need to do anything. Now he and Pavel will break this abandoned thing to smithereens, and you won't have to squirm in front of her. But when on the same day Alina Pivovarova, his best intern, wrote a letter of resignation, he was generally perplexed. He tried to convince her to stay. The girl had good potential. She would certainly make a competent lawyer, but she was not in a position. Mumbling something about family circumstances and an urgent change. The nosy and experienced Denisov intuitively felt that something was happening here. It was not for nothing that all these coincidences happened almost on the same day, but he still did not understand exactly what. But Alina now had freedom and decided to spy on Svetlana. And in the end, it wasn't in vain. On the third day, she saw with her own eyes what she wanted. The smart girl was making love to two men, and she had another lover, so to speak, for the soul, a young fitness trainer. They kissed passionately inside his car, without noticing anything around, and Alina easily managed to take several successful photos. It took another week to collect the remaining documents for the real estate court, and only after that Alina called Taisiya. Good afternoon. I'll wait for you tomorrow at 9 in the same cafe. We will go to your husband, that is, to your house. I have a plan. I will tell you everything when we meet. When the women met, Taya asked in alarm. Alina, maybe you shouldn't go to your ex? Why is this necessary? The trial will be in 3 days, and we will meet him there. But the intern objected. The fact is that there are only a few days left before the trial, and I objectively understand that Denisov has prepared a strong basis so as not to leave us any chance. You can't win this case in court, don't get me wrong. I know what I'm talking about. But at home, I want to catch Uglev by surprise. I'm sure he's clearly not alone there now, but with his lover. I'm going to intimidate him and hope he drops the lawsuit. This is our only chance. Taya shook her head. Oh, I do not know. Pavel goes ahead. He's obsessed with the idea of taking everything from me, and he's unlikely to stop. It doesn't matter how much worse we make it. The women went to Taisiya's mansion. She tried to open the door with the key, but in vain it didn't fit. The hostess was choked with tears. What a bastard. He already changed the locks. So I decided that the house no longer belongs to me. But we buy together. And then Sveta opened the door when the doorbell rang. She was wearing only Pavel's shirt. Her hair was disheveled. She was clearly waiting for someone else and even shouted in surprise. Taya? You? I thought. The messenger brought pizza. Taisiya felt so hurt. She felt humiliated and trampled. She felt so disgusted in her soul, as if it was she who was betraying Pavel, and not him and his best friend. The woman exclaimed, So this is all true? Svetka, how could you? I have done so much for you since university. I got you a comfortable place at the factory. I taught you everything. I trusted you with all the secrets. And you betrayed me like that? Did you stick a knife in your back, you reptile? Pavel himself went out to hear the noise, saw Taya and frowned. I don't understand one thing. What do you want here? In fact, we are not expecting guests. And my beloved Svatachka shouldn't be nervous now. She's pregnant. So get out of here. We'll meet you in court. Taya even choked with such audacity and shouted, "Guests? Is it okay that this is my home too? And here you are, playing with your lover, and we're not even officially divorced yet. You bastard, Uglyav. I wasted so many years by your side. I loved you. How could you do that?" Then Alina intervened and began to tell Pavel, "Hello, now I am Taisiya Matveyevna's lawyer, and I will defend her interests in court. You can understand her emotions. It's not every day that your husband's best friend hits him. To agree. We come? I have an important conversation to talk to you about, and it's in your best interest for us to discuss this now, before the trial. Otherwise, if I detonate that bomb there, you'll be left with nothing." Pavel let the unexpected guests into the room and smiled. "Well, what did you decide to tell me that is so super important?" "Yes, Denisov will leave no stone unturned for you. It's even funny, seriously. Some arrogant intern decided to compete with a professional." Alina did not lose her temper and asked peacefully, "Tell me, Pavel, for what reason are you divorcing Taisiya? Why are you going through this legal battle? Is it really impossible to reach an agreement and divide everything in half fairly? If you don't want to betray the house, you can pay my plaintiff half the amount. You seem to be a rich person." Pavel began to get angry. "What are these questions for? I don't understand. What kind of stupid proposals are these? I love Sveta, and soon she will give birth to a baby, a son. My own son, you know? But Taya, for so many years, was never able to do that. And you still ask why I'm getting divorced. Where do you think I should live with my new family?" Sveta shone like a polished samovar. She was not at all ashamed of having dismembered someone else's family, of having hurt her friend. In general, a woman from her youth was accustomed to solving all her problems in bed and going over her head. This scheme never let her down. And she didn't care at all that Taya was suffering. No one ever loved or pitied her as a child, so why should they? And then Taya couldn't take it anymore. She took the test results out of her bag and threw it in her husband's face. "What are you saying? Are you going to have a baby? It's yours? Native? Read it. You idiot. I did the tests myself. You are sterile. Finally and irrevocably. You can't have children. So the question is brewing. Who is our Svatachka pregnant with? What do you think?" Pavel didn't believe it. His hands were shaking. "You are lying. You did it all out of spite. And she probably faked the tests. Sveta couldn't betray me like that, no way." Alina replied sharply. "You can easily check this by calling the clinic or retaking the tests. Unfortunately, it's true. His mistress deceived him and spoiled his son. And I even found out who your opponent is. Here, look at the photo. In my opinion, Svetlana simply skillfully manipulated you, Pavel, and spends wonderful time with a young man twice a week. Well, did you like the news? Do you think that if I announce all this in court and even invite the press, there will be a good scandal? Is this really worth your company's reputation?" Pavel was stunned, shook the photos in Svetlana's face and shouted, "You are crazy? That is true? Who are you pregnant with? Tell the truth. It's too late to deny and lie." The vile lover didn't know where to go. She wanted to run away, but Pavel grabbed her tightly and looked with a withering look, waiting for an answer. "There was nothing to hide. I had to admit. Pavlik, I'm sorry, I'm not pregnant. I love you, I really do." "Well, if I hadn't lied about the pregnancy, you would never have decided to break up with your wife. And Maxim, it's like that, it's not serious. It doesn't mean anything. Well, we feel so good together. Pashenka, forgive me." The man was furious, pushed Sveta and shouted like a madman, "Get out of my house and my life. May I never see you again. What an idiot I am. That's how it happened. Destroyed the family. I hate you." He sat on a chair and held his head in his hands, All his dreams about a son and a new family crumbled and slipped like sand through his fingers. His soul was so disgusting, and also very ashamed in front of Taya, so much so that he was afraid to look up. All of his arrogance evaporated. It was as if he had rolled in the mud. He had never felt so stupid before. He said in a hoarse voice, "I'm not going to take away the mansion. Let everything be within the law. And now I would like to be alone. Everyone leave." Immediately, Alina was satisfied and took Taya away, but she couldn't utter a word. She was shaking. It felt like she was rummaging through dirty laundry. She wanted to wash, close her eyes, open her eyes, and never hear all this again. Alina suddenly suggested, "Taya, are we going to my house? I'll introduce you to my brother. Stay with us for a while until everything calms down. You said yourself that you were strapped for cash. So why spend your last bit of cash on hotel accommodation? You won't embarrass us at all." Taya was even happy with this proposal. "Thank you, but I probably won't refuse. Now I really don't want to be alone. Bad thoughts creep in. I don't even want to live. I thought that I had a strong family, a loving husband, that I would have more children, but I wanted to meet old age with Pasha. But I discovered that I was living a lie. Everyone around me completely lied to me day after day, both my husband and my best friend, but I believed them as much as I believed myself. This is so scary to realize. I'm going to go crazy soon. I've been thinking about it for days. And being your guest will distract me a little, and I need to look for work and learn to live alone. Now I have no one to trust anymore." Alina lived in a small, cozy apartment with her older brother Nikita. She and Taya managed to pack her things and prepare dinner when the man finally returned from work. Upon seeing Taya, he smiled. "Good night. Alina, do we have guests? Why didn't you warn? I would buy something tasty. My name is Nikita. And you? Are you probably your sister's colleague?" Taya was embarrassed and for some reason blushed deeply. She really liked this simple and pleasant man. "Hello, my name is Taisiya." "No, I'm not a colleague. On the contrary, I'm a client who became homeless. So Alina invited me to stay with you for a while. Won't you forgive? Otherwise, I must admit, I feel embarrassed. I don't want to create unnecessary inconvenience for you." Nikita waved his hands. "Well, what are you saying? I'm all for it. I love guests. And I will be happy to draw your portrait. You have such an aristocratic profile, and your eyes are beautiful. But only on one condition. Let's go." "Is coming? I don't like these formalities." Taya nodded, and they sat down to dinner. She asked with interest, "So you are an artist? What an interesting profession. Can I see your work? I love painting." Nikita was embarrassed and replied, "Well, you can say the same, artist." "Yes, self-taught. It's more of a hobby, my outlet. Throughout my childhood I attended drawing classes. My work participated in major competitions, and I dreamed a lot of joining an art academy. But my parents were against it. They say, 'What a frivolous profession this is for a man. Just self-indulgence.' So they insisted that I go to university for mechanical engineering, and now I work as an engineer. I hate my job, and it's not easy because of my leg problems. But although I am a patient, my sister and I are not doing much. We are raising money for treatment. Well, it's a long story. I don't like talking about it, but I'll be happy to show you my work after dinner." Nikita's paintings surprised Taya. They were so honest and sincere. He clearly had talent. And he painted landscapes and portraits of passers-by in the park on weekends and earned a lot of money. The woman somehow immediately became friends with Nikita. They became closer, and he also decided to tell her about his difficult life. "My sister's parents and I are good people. Our father is a designer. Our mother worked her whole life in a design office. They are an intelligent family. They almost never fought. But they were very dependent on the opinions of others. This quote from my mother, 'What will people say? She's been killing me since childhood. The house was always in exemplary order. Starched napkins, immaculate white tulle on the windows. I don't even remember dust. Sometimes my father's colleagues would come to us, and they would also be kind of demonstration nights. Everyone ate and drank with decorum. My sister and I were praised by our parents, and, naturally, we had to meet the standard of an ideal child. I was born with hip subluxation. My mother said that even as a child they tried to remove this defect for me, but they couldn't completely, as you can see. This ridiculous crab walk and periodic exacerbations haunted me all my life. It seems to me that my parents were always a little embarrassed to show me in front of guests because of this. They tried to focus on how well I was studying and showed me certificates. I had a lot of problems at school too. They made fun of me for being a robot and a cripple. So I grew up quiet and reserved. I didn't like people. I didn't have any friends other than my sister. Drawing was and is my escape valve. I forget everything in the process and my soul feels so good. At art school, no one paid attention to my illness. They only assessed creativity. I flew there as if I were flying, and I even asked my parents to go further in that direction. But no, what will people think? Is Grebnev's son some kind of artist? This is not serious. But engineering, yes, it is a real profession. So I'm working in this damn factory. I can't carry my legs to work every day. It's not mine, and that's it. Taya was surprised and continued asking, Nikita, but you've been a grown man for a long time. Why do you still put up with something you don't like? Why aren't you creative? It's obvious you have talent. Are you still afraid of your parents' condemnation? But that's funny, and life will pass you by. The man thought and became sad. You're right, of course, Taya, but I have no choice. Drawing for the soul in parks doesn't make a lot of money, and you can't make a living from it, much less earn money for an expensive joint replacement operation. To go further, you need education or at least connections, because how many people like me are self-taught and who knows about them? And without surgery, I will never be able to start a family. Do you know how tired I am of being alone? How I want to have a beloved wife and children. Don't be a burden to your sister. She is so worried about me that she is also saving money. And because of this damn injury, no one looks at me. I once had a short-term relationship, but I soon realized that the bride was just using me, was embarrassed in public, and just demanded money non-stop. So I stopped even trying to get to know myself. Everything remains useless. I can't stand it when women feel sorry for me and look at me so condescendingly. I go on the weekends, I draw for my soul, and that's how I live. Taya exclaimed. Well, what are you saying, Nikita? Personally, when I saw you, I didn't focus at all on your walk. On the contrary, I really liked that you were smiling and open, so sociable and simple. You are wrong to think that all women are the same. No, we are all different. And you will meet your loved one again for sure. You know? Do you mind if we post your work on the internet? You can create your own channel or website. It's not difficult at all, or just on social media. What if the right people notice you? You risk nothing, you lose nothing. Can I go to the park with you? I'm very interested to see how you create. Nikita was very pleased with Taya's warm words and happily agreed. Of course, let's go. I'll be happy. I'll just draw your portrait. And I didn't even think about the internet, to be honest. And who needs my dick there? But you're right, I have nothing to lose, so post. Let's see what happens. You know, Taya, your husband is a complete idiot for losing a woman like that. I would hold you with my hands and feet, especially when I tried their cheesecakes and chops. This is some kind of magic. Taya was surprised at herself. Until recently, she didn't know either Alina or Nikita, but today she has no one closer to them. Surprisingly, in her hospitable home, she felt so comfortable, so good, so calm. The three of them got along well, and there was a feeling that they were not just friends, but relatives. Pavel used to call Taya, but she stubbornly hung up and completely blocked him. After such a betrayal, she did not want to hear anything about her ex-husband and firmly decided that she would never return to him. She was just waiting for the trial and hoped that Pavel would come to his senses and she would receive money for half of the house and property. Taya already knew where she was going to spend it. More than anything, she wanted to help Nikita with the operation, so that he could feel the taste of life again, so that his dull eyes would shine again. And she will hold on, find a job in her specialty, and rent a house. It will not be wasted. At this very moment, Uglev was tearing and throwing. He couldn't talk to his wife, and that angered him terribly. After all, before everything was exactly the opposite. It was he who gave up and often ignored her calls, resting in bed with Svetka. But it turns out that it hurts a lot when you are ignored. Where is Taya now? After all, he took her nowhere. He didn't even leave any money. Her parents died a long time ago. She has no friends except the traitor Svetka. Only now, after he himself had been so vilely deceived by his lover, did a lot of things begin to emerge for Pavel. Why did he destroy his family? For whom? For the sake of this reptile, who also managed to betray him. Worth it? Pavel drank brandy and tore his hair. Idiot! Cretin! What was I missing? Sparkles and fire in bed. Well, here it is. A real fire, understand? You idiot! Life with Taya seemed boring and insipid. Wasn't there enough variety? But now how fun. The work is exploding. The house is a mess and there is no one. No one else wakes you up in the morning with a tender kiss, invites you to breakfast, or whispers about love. Is this the kind of life I dreamed of? Why did I offend Taya so much? Did he yell at you? Kick you out? Start this stupid process? No. We need to fix everything. We need to ask for forgiveness. Maybe Taya will change her mind and come back. After all, she loved me so devotedly for so many years. I would give anything now for everything to be as it was before. On the day of the trial, Taya prepared especially carefully. Even though I was very worried, I looked stunning. To her surprise, everything went well. She and Pavel divorced, and she received very good compensation for the house and assets acquired during the marriage. Already on the balcony, Ugly was waiting for her. He shifted from one foot to the other and shyly touched Taya's hand. Wait, Taichka, you look so beautiful today. Forgive me if you can. I'm an idiot for starting all this. I really regret it. Forgive me for the betrayal and for Svetka. I really want to make up with you. Maybe you will come back to me? Well, we have lived in perfect harmony for so many years. Only now have I realized how much I love you. I promise I will never cheat on you again. Taya saw in his eyes that Pavel wasn't lying now and was grateful for his honesty, but sighed and replied, No, Pasha, I will not return. I loved you more than life itself, and, most importantly, I believed in you. You know, I believed in you until the end. And Sveta too. And you too deceived me so vilely. And this happened more than once, but it lasted more than a year. You went home every day and lied. Every day. This is terrible, Pasha, and I will never understand how it was possible to do this. It won't work out like it used to. It hurts me so much to see you and remember everything. And I won't be able to live in our house anymore, knowing that you slept there with Svetka. You yourself destroyed everything, Pasha, unfortunately. I ask you, let's part peacefully. Don't call me again and don't look for me. Maybe each of us is still lucky. Goodbye. And so the story of her family ended. Taya arrived at Alina's house upset and cried until the night, going through each episode of her life together with Pasha in her head, as if turning page by page and tearing them out of a book. Alina and her brother understood everything and did not touch the guest. Although Nikita was very worried, Taya fell into his soul. He had never met such sincere and devoted women on his path, and he could not calmly look at her suffering. Nikita quietly asked Alina, Do you think Taya still loves her ex very much? Is this how he kills? I have no chance. I feel sorry for her. and I want to help her in some way. The girl sighed. Yes, you understand, Nikita. People lived half their lives together. You can't forget this in a second and get it out of your head. She just needs help to survive this pain. That's all. Time heals. Soon everything will calm down. I don't know what to answer, brother. Stay close to her and time will tell. You know, I want to offer Tay something. Should we open our own law firm together? Although she is not a lawyer, she is a very competent person and could be my assistant. I will teach her how to prepare documents and so on. I feel comfortable with Taya. I think we would work well together. And most importantly, you can trust her. I already understand that. Nikita was delighted. I would be very happy. If only I could see Ty more often. I think I've fallen head over heels in love. And I don't know what to do with it. Taya cried. It seems, all the tears, and in the morning she definitely decided everything herself. She went out to breakfast and handed Nikita a wad of money with the words, I want you to go to the hospital tomorrow and sign up for surgery. And I don't want to hear anything about you being uncomfortable. Please accept this money. They didn't bring me happiness, so let them go for a good cause. Thanks, guys, for everything. For your kind words and support. But I can't sit on your neck forever. That's wrong. So I wrote down several company addresses. I'm going to do an interview and look for housing. Nikita and Alina couldn't believe it and ran to hug Taya. God, thanks. You are simply amazing. We will give everything as soon as Nikita recovers. We also have savings. I think now it is definitely enough. Wait, Taya, listen to our job offer. Alina told Taya her idea of opening a law firm, introduced her a little, and the woman became interested. Which is, maybe I should really try? You are a smart girl. You besieged your ex-husband, but I thought he would leave me with my nose. We will try. At first, of course, we won't have many clients like Denisov, but the main thing is to start. We will not break the price, but rather work for the result. I agree. You know, guys, thanks to you, a completely new and incredible life begins for me. And now I'm going to build it the way I want. Nikita had a successful operation. Taya was by his side the entire time, supporting him as best she could. They took their first steps together, and of course they became very close in this difficult time for a man. There was hysteria, tears of pain and tears of happiness as the first confident steps were taken. Taya herself didn't realize how she got attached and fell in love with Nikita. It was so organic that somehow everything happened by itself. Love in Pavel was akin to self-sacrifice. She always tried to please him, and he graciously accepted her feelings. With Nikita, everything was completely different. Everyone was who they are, with their merits and demerits. You couldn't be ashamed of your weaknesses. You couldn't be afraid of looking ridiculous or funny. And that made your soul so easy. You wanted to vibrate, create, and smile all the time. After Nikita's full recovery, Taya and Alina opened their own business, and soon their first client arrived. Slowly, things started to improve. Nikita also decided to completely change his life, quit his hated job as an engineer, and devoted himself entirely to creativity. Together, they decided to buy a private house so that Nikita could have her own workshop where she could create her masterpieces. But that is not all. Those works by Nikita, which Taya posted on the internet even before the operation, were a great success, and soon a philanthropist became interested in them and invited the artist to organize an exhibition. It was a success. The man believed in himself and began to create. They also had a whirlwind romance with Taya. They felt so good together. Without any conditions or obligations, they didn't make plans. They just loved each other. But things were getting worse for Pavel. The clothing factory had to be sold. He couldn't survive without Taya's help and support. He owed his employees wages, and the company was declared bankrupt and went bankrupt for next to nothing. Now there was also no money to maintain such a big mansion. The man sold it too, abandoned everything and moved far away to another city where no one knew him, far from the bad memories. But even there he could not find a place for himself. There was no peace in his soul. His conscience burned him from the inside. He now desperately missed not Svetka, but Taya. He dreamed about her, hugged her in his sleep, and woke up in a strange room all alone, broken and angry. Sure, he had casual affairs. He tried to find someone like Taya, but he couldn't. Only she could love him so selflessly and forgive him everything. Taya always saw Nikita's work, was proud of him, and used to go to the park on weekends. Among Nikita's works, she often saw a portrait of a small, thin boy and once asked, "Nikita, who is this? You're already drawing on this baby's memory." The man replied calmly, "This is Sashka. I met him in the park a long time ago. He came from a dysfunctional family. His mother drank and often offended him, so he ran away from home. We talked a lot. I always bought him tea and bread or ice cream, and sometimes I gave him money. I got attached to him, you know? He can't get it out of my head. And when I left the hospital, the first thing I did was go to the park, but he wasn't there, and he doesn't come there anymore. I specifically asked the merchant Aleftina, maybe he was offended by me? Or did something happen to him? I'm very worried about him." Taya shook her hands and exclaimed, "Then why didn't you tell him about him before? We need to find him and find out everything. Where he lives." Nikita even threw the brush on the floor in anger. "Yes, if I only knew. You idiot, didn't even think to ask his name or address." "Well, we were just talking. I was afraid to scare him with these questions. He already looked like a disheveled sparrow." "So where to look?" Taya responded enthusiastically. "Let's take the portrait of him that you drew and go to the park. Let's ask traders and passers-by if anyone knows this boy. He obviously lives somewhere nearby if he ran there every day." That's what they did. They covered the entire territory and were lucky. The ticket agent at the attractions remembered the boy, recognized him, and began to tell. "Yes, this is Shurik. He comes here often, stands still, sighs, wants to go for a walk. He is a child, but he has no money. Sometimes I let him in like this. I feel sorry for the boy. There was so much happiness in the eyes. He lives nearby, on Locomotive Naya. The house there is about to be demolished, like a barracks with a green roof. You'll find it right away. His unhappy mother does not take care of him. She drinks a lot, drags men home, and throws Sashka out of the house so that he does not get in the way. It's a shame for the boy, needless to say, but I haven't seen him in a long time." Taya and Nikita went to the address. In fact, the house was found immediately. Its condition was terrible. The windows were fogged up, dirty, old. The door was on parole. The fence was fragile. They knocked for a long time, shouted. No one. They were already desperate, and then the neighbor appeared in response to the noise. She then said that Sashkina's mother was taken to a psychiatric hospital. She drank until delirium tremens, and it was as if she was deprived of her maternal rights, and he himself was sent to an orphanage. Nikita muttered, "Poor Sashka. I have to help him. I can imagine what it's like for him there. Shall we get him, Taya? You will see him and immediately fall in love. He is quiet, calm, and intelligent. Well, I can't leave him in trouble, you know?" Taya nodded. "I agree. All my life I dreamed of children, but apparently it is not my destiny to give birth alone. And so I will be a mother. I will give this unfortunate baby all the care and affection. Let's go to the shelter to find out everything." They spent a long time trying to convince the manager to bring the boy, explaining that they had come with serious intentions, that they will soon get married and take their child with them, that they have work and housing. And she agreed. I saw that the couple was good, but the boy really needed a family. He was going to disappear here. The child walked dejectedly behind the nanny, without even raising his head. But when he saw Nikita, he smiled, began to cry, and immediately threw himself on her neck. "Uncle Nikita, did you come after me?" I was waiting for you. I feel bad here and my mother is sick. Get me out of here, please. Who is this aunt? I haven't seen her before. Is this your wife? Taya smiled, stroked the boy's head, and began to say softly, My name is Taya, and I really want to be your second mother, if you allow me, of course. I always dreamed of having such a wonderful son. Would you like to live with us, as a family? We will love you, and will never let anyone offend you. Sashka rubbed his eyes and nodded, chattering in a funny tone. I agree. I promise. I will obey and help. I can do everything myself. You don't need to mess with me. Just take me. 3 months later, Sanka was adopted and lived with Nikita and Taya. Surprisingly, the three got along very well and got used to each other. Everyone enjoyed the happiness. The boy finally found loving and responsible parents, and they found a son. Now the three of them happily went to the park. Nikita taught Sanka to draw, or they all watched cartoons together, laughing happily. And a year later, great happiness happened. There is no other way to describe it. Taya got pregnant, and Nikita was beaming with joy. And Sashka immediately told everyone that she would soon have a little sister. The boy rarely remembered his own mother, who caused him so much pain. He did not hate her at all. On the contrary, he felt sorry for her. He believed that she was so bad because she was sick. The unlucky mother never left the psychiatric hospital. His mind was completely clouded. Sometimes Taya and her son would bring packages to her at the hospital because of Sashka. And on one of these visits, Taya saw orderlies leading Svetka down the hall. She was unrecognizable. Her hair was disheveled and somehow cut, and her eyes were completely crazy. She was wearing a straitjacket. The show is not for the faint of heart. Sveta did not recognize her. She shouted something angrily to the sides and muttered curses under her breath. Taya couldn't stand it and asked the doctor everything. He said, We only recently had her here. A man abandoned her for another woman, and then Frolova ambushed the homewrecker and wanted to kill her. They wanted to put her in prison, but they declared her completely insane. You can see for yourself what her condition is. Taya was surprised and asked, Witches, will she never recover? The doctor shook off the bile. It's unlikely. I can tell you that for sure. The case is quite serious. She is aggressive and obsessed with the idea of murder, or our hospital or prison waiting for her. There is no third option. Taya didn't feel sorry for Sveta. She just thought about how wisely life is arranged. Everyone gets what they deserve. He and his son returned home. Nikita was waiting for them, prepared spaghetti with cheese, and hugged him warmly. You came back? I already miss you. Let's go to the table. I prepared something delicious. Well, son, how did you check your mother? The boy suddenly hugged Taya, looked into her eyes, and replied seriously, Can you be my real mother now? Forever. And we won't go to that mother again? I don't want. Okay. I love you lots. Taya hugged the baby tightly and whispered, and tears of happiness ran down her happy face. You are our son, only ours, and Daddy and I love you very much. She felt so light and good in her soul, because now she has a very strong family, a loving husband Nikita, a son Sashenka, and soon a daughter will be born. Isn't that happiness? Now she did not regret divorcing Pavel. Their marriage was initially a mistake. They both realized it too late. And she thanked fate for meeting Alina, because this was the beginning of her new, completely different real life.